Welcome back to the Louisiana Newsmaker. State Representative Austin Badon has survived the session in Baton Rouge, and we are always glad to see you on Louisiana Newsmaker. How are you?
I'm doing great. Always good to be here.
Tell us about the session from your perspective.
Allan, you know, this was the most difficult session I've ever been involved in. Starting day one, we had a battle with the Speaker Pro Tem, and literally it went up until the last minute, 6 o'clock on June 21st, when we were discussing major legislation. And as you know, the Speaker of the House and the President of the Senate had an issue all the way up until the last minute. So it was difficult.
And difficulties with the governor also.
Difficulties with the governor. He wasn't around much. He was where he should have been, out with the people affected by the Gulf
spill.
And the spill. You know, he was where he should have been, helping the people of Louisiana who are affected. I was happy to be able to, you know, get some things passed and maybe move our state forward a little bit, but it was a difficult session.
And how is Eastern New Orleans doing?
Eastern New Orleans is coming back, not as strong and not as fast as we would like it to be, but slowly we are gaining some services and we're building new things. Neighborhoods are coming back. People are moving back. Every day you see a new house being constructed, or you see a new moving truck back into the neighborhood. New businesses are being opened.
I'm really concerned about the difficulties that the city administration and the community are having in getting Methodist Hospital or a new hospital reopened in the East. I think that's absolutely essential. That's an anchor you all desperately need.
Well, you know, Allan, the blame lies with the people who own the hospital. They are in another part of the country, and they really could care less about the people here. It's about $1 for them. The mayor, he is trying to make some type of agreement. When he gave a State of the City address, he outlined, he made 3 different proposals to him, and they denied each proposal. I'm sure and I'm confident it's going to happen, but you know, we're working towards that, getting state funding for it as well as city funding. But they are the ones who have to sell the property and make the negotiations. Is
there a chance of someone else building a hospital?
I don't think there's a chance of anybody else building it, simply because of the sheer cost factor. Mm-hmm. The Methodist Hospital site is the prime location because it would be economical for the company that owns it as well as for the city. If someone else were to go in or the city were to go in and build a new hospital, you're probably looking at something close to maybe $500 million, mm-hmm. and the city just cannot afford that.
No way.
No.
No way.
And plus, the state is not going to subsidize it with what's going on downtown.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Are you concerned with the slashes in the budgets for the universities in our region, especially UNO?
I'm very concerned. You know, I also work in higher education at SUNO, and you know, it's a real problem. You are starting to see people being affected by it. Pink slips are going out, programs are being cut, and it's really affecting people's livelihood. Next year in the legislative session, we are faced with a $2 billion plus deficit. This year we were able to pass a budget that probably stemmed a lot of the harsh and severe cuts. But next year it's really going to be devastating to a lot of the universities. And they've already started making plans and going through some projections to make those cuts.
It's like killing the goose that lays the golden egg.
Well, it goes hand in hand. You mentioned East New Orleans earlier, and I'm really concerned because I went to the last rollout of the last external tank for the space shuttle. And those students that you're referring to that are studying engineering in the schools right now, that removes one other place that they could go here locally and find gainful employment. Mm-hmm. And so we have to do more to be able to keep those programs in place, keep the funding to the schools. We passed a bill called the GRAD Act, which allows the schools to increase their tuition, because schools only get an increase in funding 2 ways, through state appropriations or through tuition. So if they opt to get into the GRAD Act program, and they could raise tuition if they show measurable outcomes, positive outcomes. But we have to do more, like help NASA Mishu to be able to sustain themselves.
Well, the other side of it is, my other concern is, if you keep raising tuition, you price yourself out of the ability of the prospective student to be able to afford to go to the university.
You know, I made a comment early in this session that I am not in favor of raising tuition. Traditionally, I have not been. tuition in the state is far lower than in the surrounding states, as well as in competitive universities and colleges. And we have to keep it competitive. We have to be able to give the services to the students. But we have to draw a fine line as far as whether we are outpricing ourselves and, you know, sending our customers to other states. That's not something that I want to do.
Or sending them back to oblivion. They may not go to other states. They may just become part of the unemployed or underemployed in our own economy.
Right. They may not even go to school. It might
Yeah.
it might become too cost
Expensive
inefficient for them to go to school.
and frustrating.
Right. And there's also a lack of Pell Grants and financial aid that's coming from the federal government as well. So it's becoming harder for the student to get federal assistance to go to school. They have to come out of their pocket more with it.
It is as though we have forgotten that it is the universities that are the machine that
Right.
builds our economy. I'm really concerned about that. I think that, and I'm not sure at all that Governor Jindal has a handle on that. I think that his approach is slash the budget, that'll solve the problem. And in fact, it may just be making a problem.
Yeah, you know, when you just cut, it really affects people. And unfortunately, in part of this administration's philosophy is that one way to make up the deficit is to just cut programs and cut spending. And when you do that, people are negatively affected by it. And that's something that we just cannot do in this state.
Well, I don't know. I think that Bobby Jindal's going to be the governor for 4 more years. I don't see anybody beating him in 2011. And that, to me, means that we better get a progressive governor in 2015 who thinks that getting more people into the university is more important than cutting programs and cutting budgets.
Well, we have to do more as far as getting a higher revenue stream in this state. We have to bring more people here who can make purchases and add to the sales tax. Those type of things will help to offset the major deficit in the budget, so we don't have that massive cuts and those lack of spending.
Well, I think we're in tough times, my friend.
It is tough times, it is, but we're going to get through it.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. Thank you so much for joining us in Louisiana Newsmaker. It's always a pleasure to see you.
It's always
and
good to be here.
We sure appreciate your and we hope you'll come again real soon.
I'd be happy to.
State Representative Austin Badon, he does a great job for the city and for the region in Baton Rouge. Please stay tuned. We'll be right back.